Wait. People are saying no audio. So there's just no audio for you or no audio for both of us? Mm. Mm. Okay. She, her husband has a business trip. He dawdled getting out the door, needed breakfast,
I denied
then
him breakfast. We were
denied him
still
breakfast,
too
but
late.
still getting him to the airport and back brought you home a little bit late. And here we are.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think I just need to figure out where I put the chat.
What mic do you have?
I have a new old mic. It is a Shure. I don't remember the number. It's one that I got many years ago, and I was
Mm-hmm.
having troubles with it, and
Mm-hmm.
it turns out the trouble was entirely the cable.
Mm.
So
New
I
cable, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's much better than the one I'd been using.
Yeah.
Hopefully the mic will bring people joy. It is
Mm-hmm.
so far bringing me joy. And
Awesome.
it's always good when you sorry, losing my voice. When you can have that moment of I need a new mic. I can't afford a new mic. I'm going to try the old mic. And the old mic's like, sure, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Yeah, you bought it me for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have had no problems with my mic now in I'm gonna say 6 years, 7 years. Like our mic issue days appear to be over. So my stack is Heel PR40 mic, condenser mic, and I about 2 years ago I replaced my audio interface. I'm now using it won't quite it's a Focusrite uh Scarlett 2i2.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah, this is. Whoa, I have
That's okay.
removed the tripod. It is the Shure MV51, which I particularly like because it like looks micy. Like some mics look video
Oh, you're
gamey.
too loud, by the way.
That's a good problem to have compared to recent weeks.
New mic, new problems.
Okay, hopefully this is better.
People will have to confirm to us that this is better. And then once we've got a confirmation that we're roughly the same, then we will be able to start recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm now setting up Audition. So many windows. I am so sorry that last week did not happen, humans. I have a really stupid allergy. I am allergic to natural rubber, natural latex, stuff from the gum tree, or the rubber tree, rather. And it turns out Halloween wanted to try and murder me.
Right. It's in everything.
It's in absolutely everything. And I did an event at the museum where there were lots of people in costume. And then I went to the pet store where every single dog toy was like natural rubber. And I'm like, I just want fish. I just want to be here long enough to pick up things I should not order on the internet. And that includes cheapy fish. Like, I'm not beyond ordering fancy fish on the internet for my aquarium because
Oh, okay. Aquarium fish. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
aquarium fish. So like I have a glorious, I call him long whitefish because I'm not creative. I'm an astronomer. I shouldn't name things.
Yeah. Metal. He's made of metal.
Not quite. Well, yeah,
Metal
actually
fish.
astronomically he is.
Yeah.
But he's one that has like lived longer than the normal captivity life expectancy for these fish. And so like I know I am safe to own expensive fish. But sometimes you just want cheapy tetras. So you go to the local store and you buy cheapy tetras.
Yeah. All right, are you ready? People say
I'm
the audio levels are good. Let's record.
okay. Hold on. I'm just typing in 770. Okay, pressing record. Testing, testing. Yes, maybe.
I'm recording here.
All right.
Are you sure you got the right microphone going into your recording?
No, I'm not.
Double, triple, quadruple
Yeah,
check
that's
because
what
it's
I'm
a new
about to
mic.
do. Settings. The settings are like, you are already recording, moron. It looks like the right thing, and there's no other mic attached to the computer.
Okay.
Therefore.
Okay. Therefore, all right, here we go. Astronomy Cast, episode 770, The Ethics of Living on Mars. Welcome to Astronomy Cast, our weekly facts-based journey through the cosmos, where we help you understand not only what we know, but how we know what we know. I'm Fraser Cain. I'm the publisher of Universe Today. With me, as always, is Dr. Pamela Gay, a senior scientist for the Planetary Science Institute and the director of CosmoQuest. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
It is the most amazing fall day outside. It looks like a Hallmark special with cloudless blue skies, orange and red trees. I just want to go take photos during the golden hour, which is far too early because stupid daylight time shifted.
Winter might have been canceled here.
Really?
All of my fruit trees still have all of their leaves, still putting on new growth. It is into November now. Yeah, they have not gotten the message. It has been surprisingly warm, but eventually, I'm sure it'll cool down. Now, I got a new piece of gear, which I just want to talk about. I got a 8-inch Dobsonian telescope.
Those are the bestest.
I know they are the bestest. So I was talking to a patron actually, and they were telling me how they were on Facebook Marketplace and they bought a telescope for reasonably inexpensive. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I should see what prices are like for Facebook Marketplace for telescopes. Just get a sense of the lay of the land out there. And boom, there's a Skywatcher 8-inch Dobsonian telescope, which is like the perfect telescope. It's not too small and it's also not too big. And the price was really reasonable, about like less than half, maybe a third of the price of what you'd pay if you bought it new, and shipping and taxes and all that kind of stuff. Wow. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I got to do this. So I reached out to the seller and bought the telescope and brought it home. And of course, we've had clouds. I got one quick look at the moon, and where you go blind in one eye because it's so bright. And I was able to look at Andromeda, and I was able to look at the double cluster in Perseus. Yeah. And so a few things quickly before the clouds have set in. But what a great telescope. So just a reminder, every now and then, if you've got sort of a telescope on your mind, just check and see what's going on at Facebook Marketplace and see if someone is selling your dream telescope. And so now I feel like with the Seastar and the Dobsonian, I have the perfect pair.
Yes. Yes,
right?
You do.
I can look at Saturn and it'll look glorious, and I can see the bands across Jupiter and the moons, or I can take long exposure images of various nebulae and so on and so forth. So I think that's the perfect pair now. Dobsonian with one of these new automated telescopes.
That
all right.
is excellent.
Yeah. So it is arguable that humanity now has the technological ability to live on Mars. It would be done at enormous expense and sacrifice, and there are some tricky problems that we haven't solved yet. Although we could live on Mars. Should we? We'll talk about it in a second, but it's time for a break.
Okay, pause. I'm opening up a drink that's going to make noise. Sorry. Okay.
And we're back. Actually, we're not back yet.
Sorry.
I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you opening the drink. Like the Zoom sound damping is so good that I didn't hear it.
Well, our audio software did sadly catch it.
Yeah, right. And we're back. All right, Pamela. So this is interesting. Because I think if there's one aspect of space exploration, of astronomy, of just like my entire career journey, my entire existence as a human being, something that I have evolved my thinking on more than almost any other aspect is human space exploration. And my guess is that you have as well.
Yeah.
So So let's kind of like go back historically and think about sort of where we were, maybe even before we started Astronomy Cast. Like, where were you with your sort of like becoming interested and excited in human space exploration and
Yeah.
humanity living off planet?
So the X prizes that it was the Ansari X Prize back when we were starting the show was looking to start the commercial space race with we're going to accomplish multiple launches in a very short period of time. And this is going to start proving that it doesn't have to be governments taking me to space. And my take was NASA has so few resources that we need to leverage NASA and governmental funds to do science, to send out the probes, to send out the rovers and the explorers, and to not keep doing human exploration, but to leverage human beings as thumbs that can build things and fix things in space.
Yeah.
And I was like, we'll just leave it to the commercial space agencies to go and take humans on the next step, like the West Indian Trading Company took merchants on the next step once the government-funded voyage of Columbus had found the New World. What I failed to think through in my ignorance was the trading companies led to all sorts of terrible working conditions, led to lots of pillaging of the ecosystem, and didn't necessarily advance civilization. And I fear I was naive in what I thought. I foresaw commercial space as like ecotourism, and it is absolutely not going to be that.
So for me, I was, like, I think I grew up on a diet of science fiction. And so just a mainstay of science fiction is that humans are going to live on other planets, that this is just what we're going to do. We're going to live, when you read the Heinleins, you read all of the original science fiction books, they talk about humanity being across the solar system. And it really kind of solidified for me. I read Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars.
I loved that
not
series.
necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
And that, this was like the practical nitty gritty reality of living on Mars and humanity setting up its existence on Mars. And then that coincided with The Case for Mars by Robert Zubrin. And then also I was reading Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan. And together those sort of books made this really compelling case that humanity actually has the technological capability now to live on Mars. We could do it. It'll only cost about $10 billion. Let's with a live off the land approach. Let's get cracking. And I was so inspired that I actually started Universe Today. That I wanted to play a part in sort of cataloging humanity's sort of moving out into space and participating in this dream. And it like felt inevitable, and it felt right, and it felt like the right thing to do. And there was a lot of people who would argue with me and go like it's crazy. Like, let's just send robots to Mars. That's ridiculous. We don't need to send humans. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point. Yeah. The point is not about the science. The point is about us living on other worlds, that this is our future, that we can explore out into the cosmos. And it starts with us living on Mars. Once we lived on Mars, then we'll be living on the cloud tops of Venus and the moon base and asteroids, and we will do asteroid mining, and we will eventually begin to move out to other star systems, and so on and so forth, right? And then reality, just day after day after day of reporting, of sort of cataloging what has happened just in our reality compared to what the fantasy was, has brought me deeply back down to earth, literally. And now I kind of have this totally different perspective on sort of Mars exploration, both sort of the practical reasons why we may or may not want to do it. And then I think, the core of what you're saying is like, there's a lot of ethical issues here that we haven't even resolved and may never be able to resolve if this is the thing that we are set on doing. All right, we're going to talk about this some more.
Yeah.
But it's time for another break.
Yeah.
And we're back. So, I mean, obviously there are technical issues that need to be overcome in terms of the gravity, the radiation, the lack of atmosphere, the poison in the soil.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on. The distance, communication, the lack of resources available to the people living there, so on and so forth. So, we're approaching this now from a not can we, because I think we could both make the case that we can.
Yeah.
If we really want to have humans be on Mars and we're willing to expend a lot of resources, we could pull this off.
And they're willing to accept the high doses of radiation that they're going to be.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, this comes into the ethical issues, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. I mean, I think, if we're willing to spend hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars a year from the Earth's economy, we could make some existence on Mars happen.
Mm-hmm.
If the people who go will be experiencing high degrees of radiation, maybe that's a personal choice. And then there are issues with future generations who might be born and try to live on Mars. So let's kind of break down the ethical issues bit by bit by bit. And I want to start with Earth because I think that's where this all starts is that I think most people vastly underestimate what this is going to cost and what sacrifice planet Earth is going to need to make to have even just a handful of people live on Mars.
And I have to admit that last week I had a oh no moment of doing back of the envelope calculations that turned into spreadsheet calculations. I noticed in the past couple of Starship launches that they talked about wanting to do up to 10 launches a day, that they were planning to produce a Starship every 8 hours. And I was like, that is all ludicrous. But I didn't pay any real attention to it because SpaceX has lots of things and you wait for them to actually do it.
Yeah, and sometimes things actually happen.
Right. And then what got me was I saw someone post a picture of that jellyfish light pattern that appears in the sky when Starship is firing its engines. And underneath it was a clearly happy and cheerful and excited post along the lines of, just imagine when the sky is full of this happening every few minutes during the Mars windows. And I was like, wait, what?
Wait, no, thank you.
And so I took a step back and I went to the SpaceX website and I was like, what are they planning here? And their plan is to launch literally thousands of Starships across multiple 2-month-long launch windows to Mars. And if you do the back of the envelope math on 1,000 launches per 2-month window, for each of those windows, you have to do 25 launches per day to cover the assumption I'm making is for each one Starship that goes to Mars, there is 19 Starships that's needed to refuel it.
Right.
That is actually a completely middle of the estimation. There are people who have much higher estimations, a few people who have lower estimations. So that's just middle of the road.
Right.
So if you assume just to refuel each of the 1,000 that is departing, it's 25 launches per day.
That's 25,000 launches.
So you have 25 launches a day. This gets the 8 Starships produced per day is what's actually needed. The steel needed for only the 1,000 that go to Mars is 0.1% of all U.S. steel production, which doesn't sound like a lot. It's 0.1%. But you're taking what is a completely recyclable material and just sending it all to Mars.
Sure.
And then on top of that, you have to have the cargo launches and you have to have the crew launches. So those are still in addition to the 25 per day, 8 per hour that are getting produced. And that is a number of launches that current research says our atmosphere cannot sustain.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think like you're taking them at their word and saying,
Yeah.
yeah, what would it be if they did launch 1,000 per Mars
Yeah.
window that they were planning on setting up a city of 1 million people on Mars. But even if you don't take them at that point, like if you even go the other end of the spectrum and say, what is the minimum viable resources required to have a colony on Mars
Yeah.
that is permanently inhabited, like maybe it's few hundred people. Like maybe you're looking at something like a McMurdo station in Antarctica, maybe 1,000 people. I mean, that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to sustain, and that's here on planet Earth.
Yes.
You're looking at tens of billions, if not trillions of dollars a year to sustain this. And that is money that could be spent on the economy in other ways. So,
Yes.
as you said, you're sending steel, you're sending material, and those are relatively low. Now, people are going to make the argument, well, the price is going to come down. Well, prove it. Um, right now, the cost to land a payload on the surface of the moon and not even bring it back is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, which is significantly cheaper than it used to be. And then the Chinese are bringing missions back, and they're in the whatever low billions, hundreds of millions to bring stuff back from the moon.
Right.
But to go to Mars is sort of next level. Right now, we're looking at tens of millions of dollars per kilogram to land payloads onto the surface of Mars. So,
Yeah.
so we do not have the technology currently to deploy that stuff to the surface of Mars. And so right now, if you actually want to live up to that dream, you're going to have to contribute a huge chunk of Earth's resources to this process. So I think that's
also being destructive to the environment.
Being destructive to the planet. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a bunch of those starships are going to burn up when they enter when they re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. They're going to contribute. It's like a new worry that we actually didn't even talk about, or we didn't even know about. Now it looks like there's a high degree of catalytic metals that are being deposited in the Earth's atmosphere that contribute to atmospheric chemistry and might actually, and that although, we're getting 100 tons of material from space, we're putting a lot more of a very specific kind of metal into the atmosphere that is potentially harmful to the ozone layer. So exactly. So we are going to, if we try to live up to that dream, we're going to have to sort of lose our economy to a certain extent and do damage to our natural environment to make this possible.
Yeah.
Right. And what we get from it is nothing.
Right.
Except for some science and knowing that there are people now living on Mars.
And
there's no economy, there's no value that is returned to Earth for this expense.
And it's like data centers. It's something that takes up a whole lot of resources without producing a whole lot of jobs. And the trade-off between allowing people to improve their own state of life versus the notch down it takes the entire world, there's no way I've been able to find to balance those two, especially when you start factoring in, we're talking about using methane fuels.
Yeah. So let's now talk about the journey. And, you brought this up a bit, that you're going to spend 9 months just getting to Mars, and you're going to be in a radiation environment that is hundreds of times more damaging than what you experience just on a normal day living down here on the surface of the Earth, protected by the atmosphere and the magnetosphere. What are the implications of that?
The most concerning one is we know that being in outer space affects vision. It's a combination of zero-G does bad things to eyeballs, and just like taking a high energy ray to a CCD can blow out a pixel, constant radiation exposure to your eyeballs will ruin your eyeballs.
But radiation in the eyeballs is one thing, but you're getting radiation over your whole body.
Right. But at a certain level, having a bunch of blind people on Mars trying to set up a colony seems like a really bad idea. So I'm just going to baseline it at, let's not disable people and then ask them to do the hardest thing possible.
Sure. But I mean, if there's if there's a really bad solar storm,
they're dead.
They're all
just dead. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got a crew, you got 100 people on board, bad solar storm. And it would, if it moved in the direction of Mars, it would take out all thousands of starships.
The flare that went off, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, would have been catastrophic. And the issue is these are vehicles that we're not real great at protecting all of our electronics. And so we do have to harden things, but how are you going to harden that many electronics without something going wrong at some point? The human body, you can't just encase it in a Faraday cage.
Right.
And so it's just layer upon layer of ways that things can go wrong, and then factor in that we don't have a clear understanding of what happens to Mars environment in high radiation.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Like just the journey there. I mean, the very worst case scenario is there's a catastrophic solar storm. Like we've seen these, these happen every couple of years, and it takes out the entire fleet. That everybody, like literally everybody dies.
Yes.
Right? Because everybody experiences a high radiation load.
That is not the worst case. The worst case is everyone but one person dies.
Maybe. So now then there is the kind of the inevitable stuff. As you said, there's issues with the vision. There's just an increased radiation load. Like everybody is going to be getting a lifetime's worth of radiation in a few months, and that's going to increase their chances of getting cancer. Cancer is going to be a very common
leukemia.
Yeah, leukemia. These are going to be thyroid cancer. These are going to be very common events on Mars that higher percentage on Mars down with. And then whatever are the long-term downsides of being in microgravity. I think we know mostly and know how to deal with many of them. Like they're going to be working out all the time to prepare themselves. They're going to probably have vision problems. Some percentage of people will have vision problems downstream. They'll wear glasses. So like these, there's a lot of stuff that we kind of know, issues with your brain, issues with some of your internal organs, liver, kidney. These are changes in deep space, memory. We've never put people in deep space for longer than 1 week.
Right.
Right. All of the long-term space exploration by humans so far has been under the protection of the Earth's magnetosphere. Only the Apollo missions have sent humans out beyond the magnetosphere and watch what happened to them. We have not performed this experiment. We've not gathered enough data. Okay, we're going to talk about arrival on Mars and the long-term ethical issues of people living on Mars in a second, but it's time for another break. And we're back. All right, so now people are landing on Mars, and obviously some percentage of these starships are going to fail and they're going to crash onto Mars. So that would be bad. 100 people per starship that fails its landing. But then let's talk about the people that survive. You've got a bunch of people now on the surface of Mars, and this is their home now. This is where they live.
Yes.
So what are the ethical issues for this now?
So you have three big things you have to worry about. One is people tend to be greedy and lazy. And how do you select a crew that is made up of people who won't at some point decide, yeah, I'm just done? And
well, I mean, in theory, like SpaceX says there's going to be return flights possible. So if you say you're done, you hop in your return spaceship and you come home.
Okay.
And if you're a bad person, they vote you off the island, they put you in a starship and they send you home. Like, I think
that feels like, I keep thinking back to the rules of the high seas, where if you didn't do what was necessary, you were sent down the gangplank.
Sure. Yeah, if you were a very bad person, they'd throw you overboard.
So you're looking to put together a society of people who are, in many cases, not going to fully comprehend how shockingly difficult it's going to be, how shockingly unhealthy everyone is going to end up being, and the amount of never-ending work is something we saw playing Oregon Trail growing up if you were of
Right.
the right age and you witnessed the dying of dysentery. But even the
Right.
people on the Oregon Trail got to pause on Sunday, and there's no resting when you're in an environment that's trying to kill you constantly.
Yeah, I have a couple of kind of anecdotes on this.
Yeah.
One is talking with astronauts
Mm-hmm.
about their life on the International
Mm-hmm.
Space Station and how much they have to work.
Yeah.
That they have to spend many hours every day just maintaining their strength
Yeah.
and their cardiovascular system. They run nonstop and they lift weights, and I think they do
Yeah.
2 to 3 hours of exercise every single day.
Yeah.
And
And
then
it's a lot of elastic more than weights, just because elastic is easier.
I mean, they have a weight machine. They literally
They do
have this
both,
sort of cool Smith machine they can lift with, and then they spend hours maintaining the equipment that's keeping them alive, and then they perform a bunch of science experiments, and then if they're lucky, they have a few minutes of personal time before they collapse and they begin the whole process all over again. And they know they've got a 9-month 6-month trip in space that, they're there for a reason. They get it done. They come back home.
Yeah.
But the people going to Mars, this is their
It
whole
never
life
ends.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is this TV show called Alone, which is often filmed here on Vancouver Island where I live, which, was recently voted as one of the best islands in the world. And they're there in November when it's kind of hard to find food. And they're alone by themselves, trying to take care of themselves, and they all go crazy. They all get sad, lonely, and they want nothing more than to return home. But when you're on Mars, even if that starship is waiting, you're looking at 6 months or so, whatever, before you can actually make that return journey. So I think all the comforts of home, it's exciting. They're all excited in the beginning, and then the reality sets in, and they're all really sad and wish they could come home. And so there's like this cognitive load. But I think, one of the bigger issues that we're not even dealing with is what if they want to have kids?
Yeah. And so there's two sides to that. One is we don't know what additional biological issues there's going to be because there is increasing evidence that once upon a time, long, long ago, Mars might have had microbial life. We don't know what its chemistry, we don't know what its former biology, we don't know what any of that will do in terms of influencing things like plant growth, anything like that. This is an entirely new environment where, for all we know, the specific chemistry that exists on Mars causes new kinds of birth defects that we don't know about because that specific chemistry isn't something that even in the most industrially polluted places people get attached to. Then add on to that, we already know that things don't form right in lower gravity. In microgravity, in orbit on the International Space Station, they've had issues with embryos not forming skin, and that will live rent-free in my brain with me forever. That was an episode we did years ago.
Yes.
Still lives rent-free in my brain.
Yeah. See, and still nobody has done the next experiments.
Because it's too scary and
I know, but nobody's done
ethically
let's
wrong.
set up a centrifuge and let's see what happens in 1/6 gravity and let's see what happens in simulated Mars gravity. Like, we have literally no idea.
Yeah.
None about what's going to happen to human gestation in Mars gravity. Might be fine, might be no skin.
And the problem with saying, we'll just mandate they don't have children is human beings don't work like that generally.
Right. Yeah.
And life finds a way. I mean, a lot of this goes back to a different Jurassic Park quote. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should, is another Ian, the Jeff Goldblum character.
Right, the chaos mathematician. Yeah, I mean, I think if you knew that there was a 100% chance that any child born on Mars would have such serious health issues that they would be non-viable or would live in pain and torment for their life, for their short lives, you would not, you would make it impossible. Everyone would have to be sterilized, I
Yeah.
guess, going to Mars. Like, that's crazy. And if it was perfectly safe, then you would be like, okay, well, this is a problem. But the problem is that we don't know the answer to this question. Nobody
Right.
has performed these experiments. Nobody has taken mammals through gestation in various simulated versions of gravity. These are tests that need to be done, and we don't know the answer to these questions.
And my
Um,
camera just died. Okay, my camera is now back. Sorry.
okay, and then the next issue is sort of like what life would be like. Now we're sort of giving this Mark Watney-esque from The Martian constant striving for basic survival.
Yeah.
You're probably living underground. Because you can't be out on the surface to get more of that dose of the radiation. You've already had a lifetime's worth of radiation, so you're going to spend every moment thinking about the time you spend outside.
Yeah.
Probably you can't grow food out in the open, that even under a greenhouse, that the
It's going to
radiation
be
will kill you.
Moon is a Harsh Mistress style life where you're underground in tubes. Your only source of light is artificial. Your only plants are grown in some sort of inside growing system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's life. And so you sort of go back to that alone idea, like you're living underground, you can't go outside.
If you're
You-
someone with
you
seasonal
feed-
affective disorder, not for you.
Yeah, you feed the algae bioreactor and you eat the slop that comes out. And so that is very tough. Now, maybe people are going to think that this sounds like a great idea, and maybe they're going to want to do it. I don't know. People have been able to weather hardships in exploration on Earth before, but often there's another side to that. It's a tunnel, and you get to come out the other side, where now you're living on a tropical paradise and you're able to survive.
And this is where there's so many post-apocalyptic sci-fi shows. Silo is one that I believe is on Apple TV, that is the world has self-destroyed itself and everyone is living in underground silos where they have to completely match birth and death. And you see similar things in Fallout and all these different post-apocalyptic. This would be that future without needing the apocalypse. You have chosen this future.
Yes, self-inflicted sort of apocalypse.
And there's another ethical side. The do we do this before the scientists have figured out all the things that we need to figure out before we pollute it with our own biology? Like, is there life on Mars? Is there a fossil record we need to explore? I'm reminded of all the places that require a paleontologist and or an archaeologist to be on site during big digs to make sure that history isn't destroyed.
Yeah.
And do you see any of the commercial agencies planning that kind of, let's make sure no fossil is destroyed?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a situation where finding life on Mars would be one of the most dramatic discoveries in human history. And it would tell us a tremendous amount about how common life is in the universe, how it evolved separately, or if they're related.
Yeah.
And yet if we go without really thinking about our impact on the environment there, then we're just going to release, various kinds of bacteria into the environment that is going to attempt to colonize those places.
Yeah.
Like, what do you know? You dig down and you find water bears, right? Like, thanks for the trip. Thanks for the new environment. So that is another issue, that we may lose track of the life, the life that was there before humanity arrived. And that is it feels like it's kind of an inevitability. But,
yes.
But it would be nice to have a chance to do lots of science before we bring the Earth life. And then, of course, people are thinking about if we could terraform it, right? Like, that takes it to the next level. You're turning this planet that was, if it does have life, has this sort of set environment, and you're turning it into something completely different for us.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, I don't care, whatever.
I want to be able to answer all the questions before I
Yes.
destroy the data.
Yeah, at the very least, let's get the science done before we destroy the data. So I think, there's like a certain percentage of people who are going to go like, I never want to listen to Astronomy Cast again.
It's true. It's
yeah,
true.
Yeah, which is fine, Now and so for those of you who are like on the fence and they're like, oh, I really hate what Fraser and Pamela are saying, I want to throw you a bone, which is that for me, and I don't know about you, Pamela, but for me, this is not about whether or not we will or should colonize other worlds.
Yes.
I think we should, and I think that we will. The issue is the time frame. The issue is where we are today on the technological curve towards this being a thing that we can do ethically and safely. And, the analogy that I always use is you look at a place like Phoenix, there's whatever, 5 million people living in Phoenix in an environment that was never meant to support that many human beings. But we have infrastructure, we have technology, we have highways, we have electrical grids, we have air conditioning systems, we have transportation networks. Like we have made it so that living in a place like Phoenix is eminently doable with our level of technology.
Yeah.
We need that infrastructure. We need a way to safely transport people into space. We need a way to safely transport people through space to another world. We need to be able to make sure we can land on that other world. We need to be able to know the answer to the question of low gravity. We need to be able to combat and stop radiation from space. We need to be able to manufacture resources that are required locally at scale. We need to be able to have new technologies that handle the temperature, the lack of atmosphere, the perchlorates in the soil, all of this kind of stuff. It is infrastructure that we have not built yet. And so it's not about whether or not this is going to happen for me. This is about when this is going to happen. And I think a lot of people are getting very frustrated and angry that this isn't happening tomorrow. And yet this humanity, as we continue to progress, we will inevitably reach this place where these are things that we do easily. We're like, oh yeah, of course. Hey, let's just set up a city on Mars because that's easy for us to do. We've got all the infrastructure. Let's just do it. And we're like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. No problem. Right. But we're not there yet.
Right.
And we get there by building infrastructure, developing our technology, understanding biology, understanding how closed ecosystems work here on Earth and in space as we live longer close to Earth, live on the moon,
near Earth asteroids,
develop all of that infrastructure that then living on a place like Mars will be just the natural outcome of that. So I still believe that we will eventually live on Mars. I just think it's going to happen in a few hundred years later than others who are a lot more enthusiastic to. And that's where I think my position has changed from the guy who was so excited about the case for Mars has now sort of tuned my enthusiasm to a more realistic time frame.
I really want to see fossil hunting on Mars with high mass laboratories being possible. But I don't care if there's a human settlement tied to it. I just want to know if there's actually fossils there. That's what I want to know.
Sure. Yeah. Like we have all these scientific questions we'd love to know the answer to. And, people say, oh, should we live on Mars? I always have to distinguish, like, should we have a research station on Mars?
Yes.
Absolutely. Right away. Tomorrow. Let's get going on that. Should we have people living on the moon? A research station on the moon? Yes, absolutely. Tomorrow. Let's get going. Should we have people like live and grow and live their whole lives on Mars? Only when it's feasible, and we won't know until it's feasible.
Yeah. Yeah. So
all right. So hopefully that, So now you may disagree with me, not you, Pamela, but you, the listener.
The audience. Yeah.
Yes. You, the audience, may disagree with me, and that's fine. But I hope that we can have an argument about time frame and not about, we're not having an argument about whether or not it'll happen and should happen. It's about when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pamela.
Thank you, Fraser. And thank you so much to all of the folks out there on Patreon. And this is where Rich is going to drop in the file that I'm going to record this afternoon when I also update
Right.
the patrons list on our website. And we have, as of tomorrow, I think, for Astronomy Cast, access to quips and all the new Patreon features. So check it out. You have to install Patreon on your mobile device, though.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye, everyone. All right. And then they saved. So just to warn everyone who likes to watch us live, chaos is about to ensue.
Yes.
It is the best of chaos because one of the two of us, who is not me, is going to do things like visit real-life elephants.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So my wife and I are going to Thailand for a month, leaving in a week. And so we're going to be in Bangkok for like the first 10 days, and then we have no plans.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think, generally we try and find some place in the forest that has lots of bugs that we can look at. So that's probably what the rest of our trip will look like. So, but the internet is fast there. Our Airbnb has high-speed internet. So we'll be able to do some recording and stuff from there, but hopefully minimum.
I have a weird question. So someone who does photography of the sky is an astrophotographer. Someone who does photography of bugs, are they an entophotographer?
I guess so, but it's classified as a macro photographer.
Oh, okay. That is far less interesting of a phrase.
Yeah, you're doing macro photography. Is it a long plane journey? Yeah, it's a very long plane journey. It's like a 15-hour flight. It flies through Philippines and then there. So I think it's like 13 hours to Philippines and then another 3 hours to Thailand. Yeah.
I'm surprised you aren't transferring in like Hong Kong or something.
It's just the flight that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was more of a last minute thing. We're like, we want to get away from the Canadian winter.
Yeah.
Which apparently has been stalled out, right? Yeah. So, okay, I'm uploaded.
Okay. So Fraser and I are still making plans. Nominally, we are recording Wednesday and possibly again on Friday. We still need to talk. So
yes,
just
we'll
be prepared for anything. Join Patreon at least for free. I will pop notes there and I'll pop notes in announcements on Discord. Yeah.
Paul Disney had a great comment. A cool sci-fi movie, Mars City, reality, all Mark Watney all the time. Yeah, that would be a crazy, like if someone would make that movie. I don't know if there's like something that's really close, but people just living in this constant toil underground, repairing.
That feels like it would be a Japanese or Korean game show.
I guess so. Yeah. But I wonder, like, you could probably make it on a budget because you'd almost never have to have people go outside. You just have things breaking down, people's, behavior worsening over time. Something that would be roughly akin to Jonestown or something.
I don't remember if it was Japan or Korea. There was a game show that you were put in a apartment and you had to apply to sweepstakes and you could only live off of what you won, and until you won a certain amount you were trapped. Yeah,
it was one guy naked in an apartment, and then he had to apply for all these sweepstakes and try to raise his standard of living through that.
So
all he did all day was apply to sweepstakes.
And so I just always think of that when I hear about we should make it a game show. No, we should not.
No. All right. So I'm going to be doing my live stream tonight at 5. So in 5 hours. Have you got anything else interesting that people should check out?
I am looking for more questions for our That Takes Math series. Last week was failed because stupid allergies were stupid and tried to destroy me. So this week I'm going to be doing would you have to rotate the moon faster than its self-gravity can hold it together in order to create 1 g of gravity in a lava tube at the equator standing on your ceiling.
So could you rotate the moon so quickly that you would experience 1 g of gravity on the surface of your lava tube without tearing the moon apart?
Yes.
Huh. And you don't know yet?
I do not know yet. I'm going to find this out.
Right. My guess is the moon tears itself apart.
I think so too, and I just am excited to learn in
fact,
what
there's
degree.
A number. Wait. There's a weird rule that it's like, oh, I forget it's like there's some number that objects tear themselves apart at, some rotation rate. Yeah, no. It's a rotation rate that on average, that it's like this magic number. And I forget the number, but I feel like it's some number of minutes, or it's a speed of the surface. Anyway, there's some weird number that you don't, there's like a limit to how fast asteroids rotate. Mm-hmm. And it's not because they didn't try to rotate faster. It's that they tore themselves apart whenever they rotated. So
Google is no longer useful.
Yeah, that's a it's like a
DuckDuckGo.
paper that I read where someone was saying, weirdly, we keep running across this number. We keep coming across this number that is the maximum speed, and it scales with the size of the asteroid. So, all right, thanks everyone, and we will see you when we record next.
It's true. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
And then there's an awkward transition because I forgot to prime it. Okay.